People are saying that JK and his tattoo artist have leaked something that might be an answer to his orientation. We also have people saying that Jimin was recently believed to have been crying in the military and what that was about, as well as we have people begging the label to give the members of the label some privacy and some alone time. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Disci, let's get into it. People are talking about a recent kind of shocking news that happened with the group ENHYPEN. These boys had been working on their debut for quite some time, and it was very public and open about that. We got to see their process during their training, of course during Island, and then competing and all that stuff, as well as finally seeing them debut, and then seeing them do music and concerts and all that stuff. We've essentially seen them grow up on screen with us. One of the members named Niki had recently been very open about him not being able to see his family. I would imagine he hadn't had much time to see his family during the reality show, but it was also believed that during his debut, he didn't have much time either. So once the group had launched, he had no chance to see his family. The only time that he had seen his family was during concerts in which they would fly over or just go over and see him in person, just for that short period of time. But the fact of the matter is, it still remains that he has not seen them or spent time with them for a long period of time. So they have not hung out, they have not done anything together. And I think that this is pretty standard with celebrities, especially ones that may or may not be rich yet. They are obviously a big group, but you of course still have to pay back the label. That's the deal that you sign when you go into the label, which is essentially that all the money that the label poured into you, you owe that back. And then after that period, you can finally take some of that revenue for yourself. In my opinion, I believe the group has likely made their money back, but there also could be a chance that they haven't yet, because there could have been a lot of money that was poured into them. I mean, look at how big the production of Island was. Now, the group has pretty much not taken a very big break, or any break at all, really. They've gone from one comeback to the other and have gone from touring straight into recording new music. So there was no time in which it was possible for Niki to fly back to see his family. His family lives in Japan, so it would definitely be a little bit of a trip, maybe not too far off if they're doing stuff in Korea, but definitely a further trip if he is in the States or wherever. And of course, flying back for a day and then leaving the next day is not really considered seeing them, because you're not really spending time with them. But this got crazy when it went on to the internet, and I think a lot of people misconstrued what was going on. So first off, there were a lot of people who were saying that he quite literally hadn't seen his family at all. Like, he hadn't seen even their faces for many, many years. And then there was, of course, what the reality was, which is that obviously they have seen each other in person even, and of course they would have the ability to video call and all that stuff. But I think the narrative that's being pushed to say that he hasn't seen his family yet because he's working so much was one that was made to try to make it look like he's very hardworking, and that he only cares about the success of the group, and he's sacrificing a lot to become successful. And it's supposed to be very admirable. But this is where I have to start to have issues with it, because that's not exactly what happened. And people started to attack HYBE and say that they're the reason why he doesn't have time for himself and all that stuff. Does a label take part in enabling stuff like that? Yes, because they are the ones that are paying and creating the schedule. They're the ones that are managing everything. But as a K-pop star and as a pop star in general, this is the risk that you take when you sign on. You sacrifice a lot, and you sacrifice things that most people wouldn't want to sacrifice in order to do things that most people wouldn't be able to do. There is this genuine quote that exists, which is that if you want to be extraordinary, you can't expect to do ordinary things and get there. And these are the sacrifices that people don't think about. They only think about the glitz and the glamour of being a pop star without realizing that there's a lot of things that just can't happen because you're just working all day. Those are the sacrifices, which also makes the dating rumors kind of crazy, right? Because if he can't even go back to see his family, what makes you think he has time to date someone? So before anyone gets into any K-pop members of any groups dating, let me reiterate, like, when would they have the time, right? Like, you can literally see right here, as a big example, that none of these stars have any time to do that. So people are begging the label to let the members have some privacy or alone time, but at the end of the day, this is a decision that they've signed up for, and they likely would be aware now that this is part of what they've signed up for, if they didn't know this already. Emotions can run really high in the entertainment industry because things move really fast, and I think it's a little bit difficult to explain to many people on the outside of it, which is that time almost feels like it stands still sometimes. When a normal day can be described as waking up at 4 a.m., taking a plane ride, getting to a new city, having a meeting, doing calls, going to rehearsal, and then it's just noon, and you're flying to another city, doing press interviews, taking a bus somewhere else, and then finally resting your head around 11 or midnight, it's really not that crazy of a thought to think that a celebrity or a person in the industry to be like waking up at 4 a.m. didn't even feel like the same day to them. And it could have felt like a week ago to them, because look at how much was done in just that one day. And that's not even a crazy day, because we know that some idols only sleep a few hours a day. So In this schedule, we're at least getting 5 hours of sleep. Usually a lot of people, their entire day is just wrapped around taking that flight and then going to a new city, and then maybe the next day they do the meeting, or the next day they do the press or whatever, right? But it's usually split up into different days. And then usually they'll have the other rest of the day to do fun things, eat, whatever, right? Whereas some K-pop idols don't even have time to eat. But if you smash it all in one day, you can only imagine how one day is going to feel like an eternity. With that said, it was no surprise that Jimin recently got a little bit emotional, because when you go from a really fast-paced life to a really slower one in comparison, then you're going to start to become really emotional because things are changing really fast. And Jimin being in the military was almost an overnight shift because they worked right up until they had to enlist. But while it is emotional, there are some rumors that haven't exactly been confirmed to be true that Jimin was crying to his military mate while he was in there. And the specific thing that he was crying about was just talking about how he didn't want his solo comeback or his recent piece of work that he just put out to be monetized. And he wanted to put it on SoundCloud to make it free for everyone to listen to. This would be similar to something he did back in 2019, which was he put out music for free. So this idea that he would want to do that again, or had thought about doing it again, is not that far off, because people are like, well, he did try to do it once. Now, there are a lot of people who are saying that, look how much Jimin loves his community and his fans because he wanted to do something like this and he wanted to offer something like that. To my knowledge, there hasn't been any public posts online that have expressed that he has had this conversation with one of his military mates, nor is it anywhere that he had attempted to put Who or any of the other songs onto SoundCloud to be free. Obviously, this isn't saying that he wouldn't do something like this because, as I said, he's done something like this before, but there's no proof that this is what he was planning on doing. This is then used as an example to say that HYBE is greedy and bad to Jimin. And I'm going to have to disagree here because the release of his solo stuff was always intended to be commercial. It was always intended that he wanted to perform with it. He wanted to have a big release. He wanted to have a big promotion behind it. And if he wanted to do all those things, then he would need to make money with the album because the label has to fund it. But the label is not going to fully put money into something that isn't making money. That's just not how business works. No business is especially trying to lose money by doing something. And here's the other thing. If Jimin were to put out his album on SoundCloud, and if there were no promotion because it was not intended for commercial release, then people would complain that the label's not doing anything. But the label can't put money into something that's not making money. They just can't. Sometimes this makes me feel like there are children who are writing these posts because it's not that hard of a concept to grasp, but it is a concept that you grasp as you get older and you realize what money is. If you're someone who might be living with your parents or someone who's a little bit younger, then realizing the capacity of how money runs things in the world may not be fully understandable. Of course, there are tons of people that I'm sure are watching right now that do understand that stuff, right? I'm not talking about you. Even if, of course, you know that everything costs money, but understanding that being famous and being well known is just a matter of money. Like, this is the exact reason why an artist nowadays would choose a label versus just being independent, is that the label has deeper pockets. That's the entire thing. They would treat the label more as a bank, then a label can provide them more than what they can provide themselves, right? Because you can do all those things independently now anyway. Because as long as you have money, all of the resources that you would want from a label can find you. Like if you want a publicist, if you want an A&R team, celebrity collaborations, even talent, you can buy talent, whatever you want. If you just have unlimited money, you're going to get all that stuff. There's also been a post recently that shows JK, or what appears to be JK, holding a phone case that has Jimin and JK and their ship pictures together. This was one of the most popular photos that is being used in the shipping community to say that Jimin and JK are both in a relationship together, and this was something that was allegedly on JK's phone case. This picture of JK in his phone case and the photo was allegedly taken by JK and reposted onto JK's tattoo artist's Instagram page. So a lot of people were like, okay, so this tattoo artist is confirming the relationship, and a lot of people either see it as one or two ways. Either the photo is fake and that's not JK, and that the photo that we are seeing on the phone case is not real and it was photoshopped in, but then people are thinking, okay, well, it is reposted by the tattoo artist, or people think that it's reposted by the tattoo artist, so that must mean it's real, but the entire photo maybe is fake. But then people are thinking, why would the tattoo artist repost something like this, right? But I don't actually think people are thinking about it fully. Like, it can be both of these things. Like, both of them can be fake at once. Like, it was never posted and this photo was never real. That's what I believe happened. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.